Yes, good morning and welcome to the program. Know Your Rights on Lagoon Radio, your number one online gospel radio in Nigeria and the official radio of the Anglican Communion Diocese of Lagos. We are transmitting live from the Archbishop's Palace right here in Marina, Lagos. It's Friday, the 25th day of February 2022, and it's 17 minutes gone past the hour of 9. Yes, how is your weekend going? Yes, the weekend has begun, and some people will say, thank God it's Friday. And today on Know Your Rights, remember, is our legal program where we educate you on your rights as a citizen of Nigeria. And today we'll be looking at cybercrime. What does the law say? What is this cybercrime? Yes, like always, I am your host, your regular host, Anosike Chimezie, on the program. And I have a legal practitioner in the studio, Barrister Ebediza Abata. Barrister, good morning and welcome to the program.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Yes, when we talk about cybercrime, what is it all about?
Okay. Cybercrime, it has to do with the activity that has been criminalized and with necessary penal consequence that takes place in the cyberspace via the use of the internet and computer and other auxiliary facilities. So the crime, the kind of crime, the kind of illegal activity that takes place in the cyberspace.
Okay, to our listeners, remember you can watch us live on Facebook. Is Lagoon Radio NG on Facebook, Lagoon Radio NG on Facebook, and yes, on Twitter and Instagram, Lagoon Radio NG. We are live on Facebook, and www.lagoonradio.ng is the link to listen to us directly. Okay, Barrister. Now, cybercrime. Then I came across cyber law. What is cyber law? When we talk about cybercrime, what is cyber law?
Okay. When there is a crime, when there is a social wrong, social vice, there is need for the provision of concurrent penal law to at least to curb that social vice. So the cyber law itself is an embodiment of law, embodiment of enactment, of framework, legal framework that prevent cybercrime, because it is a social, cybercrime itself is a social phenomenon that is highly detrimental to the advancement of the society. So the society has been enveloped in it. So there is need for a corresponding enactment, which is cyber law, to at least curb that social vice, prevent it to a large extent.
Okay, and when we talk about cyber crime, a lot of people, like generally in Nigeria, we talk about Yahoo. That's what a lot of people talk about. But I come to find out that there are a lot of cyber crimes, related internet fraud, which we popularly call Yahoo, and also there is one called identity fraud. What is the difference between internet fraud and identity fraud?
Internet fraud is all encompassing. It's all encompassing. When you talk of internet fraud, it has to it's wider. It's wider than identity fraud. So internet fraud can come subsume the identity form that you just fraud that you just referred to. So when we talk of identity fraud on its own, is taking unauthorized use of someone personal data, personal detail to defraud someone else. Unauthorized use, or when you even have such authority, you exceed the authority that you were given. So it's internet fraud. Is a pretense, unlawful pretense, using assuming the identity of someone that is not truly you. That is identity fraud, to defraud and gain advantage for your own person, or to give advantage on some third party.
Okay, and again, I came across one called cyber extortion. So, looking at the identity fraud and cyber extortion, are they related?
Identity fraud, and they are intertwined to a large extent. So, because when we talk of identity fraud, just as I've said, is an unlawful pretense, assuming the identity of someone that is you are not. So is the identity fraud. Then which other one do you refer to?
Cyber extortion.
Cyber extortion. So that is the intent. The intent of identity fraud is to extort.
Okay.
That is the intention, the main area so far, is to extort, to acquire advantage. So when we are talking of the credit card fraud, the like of them, trying to the instances whereby we see people calling an individual, calling to people that your credit card name, your credit card detail, things like that. So they are part of the cyber fraud that take place. But where identity fraud, the rationale or the mens rea behind identity fraud is to actually extort, to actually gain personal advantage to someone person, or accrue it to a third party.
Okay, when we posted the flyer for this, somebody asked a question. He said, "Is defamation of character related to cybercrime?"
Very, very well, very well. Cybercrime is, just as we've said, is that crime that takes place in the cyberspace via the use of internet, computer gadget, and other ancillary equipment. So the equipment. So when you refer to
Defamation.
So the defamation, it comes in variety of way. You can publish an article on the internet that is not true, and you have no legal justification. So you are defaming such an individual. It also boils down to libel, when you publish libelous article, the like of them. So it's still part of the cyber crime. The fake news that the government come on about and try as much as possible to clamp down is still part of what we are saying. So you cannot discuss cyber crime and exempt defamation. So defamation is because people can just thinking that they have the right of expression, but there is limit to right of expression. To say, when you are exceeding that limit and your expression is causing damage to a second party or third party, so you are exceeding the boundary of a freedom of expression. So, and if care is not taken with the message you send or things you do on the cyberspace, it can result to defamation, libel, the like of them, and occasion consequential damages.
Okay, in this now, can there be a cyber crime against the government or the government against the people?
Cyber crime against the government?
Yes.
The government cannot be liable for cyber crime because they are actually the one that brought into place the mechanism to combat cyber crime, the agency, the like of them. So, but that is the government as on its own. But the employee or agency that identify with government, such an individual could be liable for criminal sanction if they violate the penal cybercrime penal law. In our own instance, we have the Cybercrime Act, Cybercrime Prohibition and Prevention Act that was enacted in 2015. So an individual working for government, working for an organization can be held liable for criminal trespass or violation of such enactment.
Okay, you're still listening to Know Your Rights, our legal program on Lagoon Radio, and we are talking about cybercrime. Yes, it is in the space these days in Nigeria. We'll go on this short break. When we come back, like the barrister mentioned, we'll look at what the law say about the cybercrime itself. Remember, it is conversation now. Go to our Facebook fan page and drop your comments, and also you can also reach us on the following number, like you always know. Is interactive, and your questions, we are waiting for your questions so that we can attend to all of them there. And the number to call is 080 That's the number to call. You can also drop your WhatsApp message on that line. We will attend to all of them when we come back from this break. Keep listening to us. We'll be right back.
This is Lagoon Radio. This is Lagoon Radio.
Yes, you're still on to Lagoon Radio, and it's Know Your Rights, our legal program on Lagoon Radio. Barrister Ebenezer Bata is here, and we are talking about cybercrime. What does the law say? You can download the app on Google Play Store and Apple Store. Follow us on our social media platforms. On Facebook, Lagoon Radio Nigeria, and on Instagram, Lagoonradio.Ng. And yes, we are live on Facebook, Lagoon Radio Nigeria. We are streaming live, and you can also listen to us directly via the link www.lagoonradio.ng. Yes, having said all this now, what does the law say about cybercrime? What is it in the law? You mentioned the enactment of that act. What does the law really say about cybercrime?
Okay, as a social phenomenon, I said it earlier on that the National Assembly, in their wisdom, deemed it fit to come up with an enactment so that they could at least prohibit, curb, prevent, and prosecute the perpetrators of cybercrime. Pursuant to this, we have the enactment of Cybercrime Prevention and Prohibition Act, which was enacted in 2015 and assented to by the then President Goodluck Jonathan. So the law, the act itself, is actually to prevent, prohibit, prevent, and give necessary power to relevant agencies, law enforcement agencies, to investigate and apprehend offenders and prosecute them if need be. So the essence of the enactment is just what I've said, because cybercrime is a serious issue. It's a serious issue. Even if we see under the enactment, it is put under the coordination of the National Security Advisor Office to be coordinated. So the national security, to let us know that it is a national issue that can pull down necessary country information infrastructure that could go as far as marring the economy of a country and the standing of a reputable country among the international community. So, as I've said, and my reasoning here is that the Cybercrime Act, the law itself is to curb all the phenomenon that are peculiar to criminal activity, acts that the act came in to actually prohibit criminal disposition that take place on the cyberspace.
Okay, are there special security agents assigned with the responsibility of as watchdog on this cyberspace?
As I've said earlier, the coordinating body is the National Security Advisors Office. Then the office of the Attorney General of the Federation too is also expected to play a huge role. It's also recognized under the Act to at least ensure that effective implementation and see that other enabling law and agencies coordinate the prevention and the proper implementation of the enactment. So, just from your question, there is no specific agency to say. All the law enforcement agencies are expected to are saddled with the responsibility to see the enforcement and implementation of the cybercrime enactment by prohibiting, preventing, investigating, and where need be, taking such matter for prosecution in court. So the entire security agency apparatus are involved in the enforcement of the Cybercrime Act.
Okay, one of the questions we have this morning, someone said the government is bullying its citizens by arresting people and putting it up on social media. Is that not a cybercrime against the government?
It is the duty of the government to ensure that there is orderliness, because in a state of chaos, of upheaval, we cannot have a sane community, and we cannot even be discussing of certain fundamental rights. So, but that aside, we cannot but say that in implementing most of these enactment and law, most of the agencies or security agencies saddled with the responsibility. Most time they exceed the limit of the power confers on them. So they could be held liable as an individual if you exceed the limit by violating some other person right. You could be held responsible. But putting it on social media, bullying people and putting them on such acts on social media is an act that is frowned against by the law, because an individual is still, there is a presumption of innocence under the Constitution, presumption of innocence under the Constitution of the Federal Republic, Section 36 of 5 thereabout. So there is such presumption. So an individual should not be a judge in his own cause until a matter is proved beyond reasonable doubt and such an individual is convicted of the crime. So at any stage before that stage, that individual is still presumed to be innocent of the allegation. So it is not a right thing to do, But where an individual, when any agency is exceeding the limit of the power conferred on them, someone has reciprocal duty to ventilate such grievance to the appropriate quarters. You can enforce certain rights because where the right of, there is limit to an individual right. Where an individual, someone's right stop, the right of another person could start from there. So there is need to understand the intent and content of the law and play within the rule of the enabling enactment.
Okay, looking at our society today, a lot of young men, they think that the cybercrime, the Yahoo Yahoo, is the way out. And is the government doing enough to sensitize the people on the dangers of cybercrime?
To a large extent, it's because people are ignorant of the law, and it's not an excuse anyway. Just as I've said, many people don't even know that there is an enactment called the Cybercrime Prohibition and Prevention Act 2015, which still penalize certain actions, and there are highly punitive measure that measure into terms of imprisonment and fine. It varies. But even the Yahoo Yahoo, the internet fraud is not only the act prohibited under the Cybercrime Act. So what we need to know is that people are not well informed, and the government, to a large extent, at least the National Assembly, by making the enactment available to a large extent, they've done their bit. So it's left for an individual, because it's a public document, and you can even download it and study the act, so to get one acquitted, so that you won't cross boundaries and find yourself in a huge mess when you have to answer certain questions when certain provisions are violated. To a large extent, I believe the government on their own, they've taken a very bold step through that enactment. But it's left for an individual to acquit oneself with the provision of such law.
Okay, if you're listening to us, let's give you a brief of that act that the barrister mentioned. Cybercrimes Prohibition and Prevention Act 2015. The act provides an effective, unified, and comprehensive legal, regulatory, and institutional framework for the prohibition, prevention, detection, prosecution, and punishment of crimes in Nigeria. And a lot of them have been highlighted. A lot of them were highlighted in that. But let me draw your attention to one of them, which is offenses against critical national information infrastructure. When the government says offenses against critical national information infrastructure, what do they mean?
No, they are offenses that could actually sabotage the effort of the government, that can incite people towards the government or the government policies. So when you are using the internet to incite, to cause upheaval in the cyberspace, which has direct or indirect implication of interfering with the peaceful running of the government. So it's an attempt at national critical national infrastructure, information infrastructure. So the definition per se is not actually stated, but when such act is someone that is an act that is critical to national security, so it's time to be an act toward the national critical information infrastructure.
Okay, another one. I'm just surprised at seeing this one. It says child pornography and related offenses. What do they mean by child pornography and related offenses?
That is another offense under the Cybercrime Act. So child pornography and related offenses. No, when you are on the what most people do, consciously or unconsciously, sending pornography, child pornography is a serious offense under the Act. Any related content, so it's an offense that can slam such an individual 3 years thereabout and fine or without even fine. So when you are sending such illicit content on the internet, so it's a serious offense. So, and ignorance of it is not even an excuse. So what most people do, having such illicit or obscene photograph, pictures or on their phone is an offense that is known under the Cybercrime Act and is prohibited under the Act. So what that of child pornography is actually saying is that under the Act is transmission of same, is even having such content on your phone is highly prohibited. And the age of child under that enactment is even 18 downward. So you have no basis and you have no reason of retaining such a graphic, such a picture of a minor in your gadget.
Okay, as an adult, having a pornography, is that what you mean? Having a pornography on my phone as an adult, is it a crime? Or having a minor's pornography on my phone? Which one?
When you have it on your phone, it doesn't end there. When a third party has access to it,
okay,
it becomes a serious issue. When it's being transmitted, it's become a serious issue. Do you understand?
Oh,
when you have it on your phone, just as we've said, you have certain questions to answer, because anyway, before your phone could be taken, is another aspect of the Cybercrime Act, another provision that said before such right to privacy could even be violated, there is need for a search warrant. If they search your phone, how do you start explaining that? So it's a criminal offense under the Act.
Okay, I'm learning a lot this morning, and I know you too. You are doing the same. So, and we will go on this short break. When we come back, we'll look at the implications of cyber crime in Nigeria. Keep listening to us. We'll be back after this break.
This is Lagoon Radio. This is Lagoon Radio. This is Lagoon Radio.
Okay, welcome back. You are still on Know Your Right, our legal program on Lagoon Radio, and Barrister Ebenezer is still here. Yes, we are talking about cybercrime. What does the law say? And when we talk about the laws, I've been defined all this. Now, any person found guilty of these charges, any of these charges in cyberspace, because we've known that it's not only Yahoo Yahoo that is a cyber crime. What is the punishment for anyone found guilty of this cybercrime?
Okay, thank you. Just as we've been saying, it is not only the internet, the credit card fraud, or the identity misuse of someone else's identity theft, and the like of them. We have, you also refer to child pornography and the like of them, offense against national critical information infrastructure. So there are a lot of them like that. Even accessing someone's computer information gadget without their authority, or if you even have their authority and you exceed the authority given. So they are all criminalized, penalized under the Cybercrime Prohibition and Prevention Act. So and there are various punishments ranging from term of imprisonment to fine, and even both. Someone can be slammed with both. So we need to avert our mind to the fact that the proper court is the Federal High Court. So upon arraignment and proof beyond reasonable doubt, if such an individual is found guilty of the alleged criminal act offense, he will be convicted accordingly. Then thereafter sentenced as provided for under the act. So the punishment that accrues to each prohibited or penalized act under the act varies. There are some that a year imprisonment, a fine of 1 million naira, 2 years, 3 years imprisonment, 5 years, up to 15 years imprisonment. Even imprisonment for life is also there. These are probably offense against cyber. When we talk of cyber terrorism thereabout. So it range, and there are it could fetch such an individual, such a convict, life imprisonment, cyber terrorism. Then when an act is done that occasion a cybercrime act is carried out that occasion death to another person or individual, it could also fetch the perpetrator life imprisonment. So it actually varies, and it depends. So, and there are certain establishments like those that even run cyber cafe, the like of them. They are expected to even register before you start running cyber cafe. So, and without that, there is also a penal measure for that. So if you're in violation of that, such an individual could earn a year imprisonment and fine thereabout. So, and if there is a cyber security issue, so financial institution, even those that we just referred to, those managing or running cyber cafe, the like of them, they are expected to at least lodge complaint to immediately signal report to a body under the cybercrime act. So for immediate action. So which is also overseen by the National Security Advisor. So failure to do that can also occasion serious penal consequence. So the punishment actually varies upon conviction.
Okay, another person asked, please, I have a problem, barrister. Someone posted my picture with a friend. He's a guy. Literally, he said, someone posted my picture with a friend and sent to the person's friend. How do I go about it? Is this defamation or what?
It depends on the content of the picture posted anyway. Then, but the act is clear and is clear, and his position is as firm as the rock of Gibraltar, that you need the authority of an individual before you meddle with any of their electronic gadget, either computer, the like of them. So even it doesn't end there. When you have such authority, probably I gave you authority to view my pictures. So if you exceed, you cannot go past the authority I've given you by lifting the picture and sending it to someone else. So if I feel offended by that, you can lodge a complaint to any security agency. You can report such matter to the police, but it also boils down to the content. But let's have it in mind that you need the authority of the owner, the handler of probably the computer of whatsoever gadget, and you shouldn't exceed the so-called authority. If not, you will be held liable and culpable.
Okay, again, when we talk about this, and a lot of young men, like you said, ignorance is not an excuse. Now, for someone who is a victim of this and doesn't, how does the person go about it? Maybe someone who is defamed or who felt that his rights has been trampled upon by this cybercrime. How does the person go about it?
What is expected of the individual is either he brief a lawyer so that the lawyer will take necessary action, and such an individual can write a petition against such perpetrator, write a petition against the perpetrator, and hand it over or have it lodged with the necessary security agency or apparatus. The police is there. They will take it up. Once the proof of evidence are made available, and there is ex-facie evidence that could at least be used in prosecuting such allegation. So what is expected of an individual is actually to write a petition or lodge a complaint at the police station on necessary security outfit. So, but in most cases, I would advise that just engage a professional, a lawyer at this instance for proper action.
Okay, and in a climb where a lot of us are not informed, for someone who doesn't have the money to afford a lawyer, how can he go about it?
Money to
afford a lawyer.
I gave that as an alternative, that an individual, you on your own, you can write a complaint, you lodge a petition against such an individual at the police station, stating what he has done and attaching necessary evidence at your disposal. So it's now the duty of the security agency to investigate the substance of the allegation. So they will investigate the substance of the allegation, and if a prima facie case is established, they have no option than to arraign the suspect. Then prosecution will start, and conviction and sentence thereabout. And the enactment, don't let us forget this, that the enactment also creates room for compensation, for restitution. Compensation, if you suffered a loss thereabout, the damages could be awarded in your favor, and there could be restitution. So probably if your property is stolen, or your property is taken away from you through that false pretense, so the court could order that the property should be restored, or monetary compensation to the amount of the damage that has been occasioned should be given to you, the complainant, the nominal complainant.
Okay, it is time to go. Barrister, we want to thank you so much for coming on the program to educate us this morning.
My pleasure. It's my pleasure.
And we hope to see you when next we call on you.
Very well.
And that's the size of our package this morning. And thank you for listening. Know Your Right returns again next Friday, 9:10 a.m. That is 10 minutes past the hour of 9. And it will run till 10. Don't forget to download our app on Google Play Store and Apple Store. Follow us on our social media platforms on Facebook, Lagoon Radio Nigeria, and on Instagram, LagoonRadio.Ng. And I am Anosike Chimezi, and thanks to our producer, Olumakaiye Ajadi, for pressing the buttons. It's Friday. Make sure you enjoy your weekend and enjoy all our programs. Bye for now.